The mystery surrounding the Reddit account, Maxwell Hill, has led to widespread speculation that Ghislaine Maxwell herself was secretly operating one of the most powerful and influential Reddit accounts of all time. The account, which was the first to hit 1 million karma on the platform, had a long history of consistently posting about major global news. However, what has drawn the most attention is the sudden and complete halt in activity following Maxwell's arrest in July 2020. Many Reddit users and researchers have pointed to this as clear evidence that Maxwell was behind the account, and that its absence is more than just a coincidence. For 14 years, Maxwell Hill was one of the most active accounts on Reddit, posting multiple times per day about world events, politics, and controversial topics. The consistency of the posts was remarkable, with the account maintaining a steady presence on the platform for over a decade. Yet, the moment Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, the account went completely silent. This unusual timing has led many to believe that the two are connected, with people suggesting that the account's operator was suddenly unable to continue posting due to their detainment. The Reddit community was quick to investigate after noticing the sudden inactivity. Users began analyzing the account's posting patterns, language style, and behavior, comparing it to Ghislaine Maxwell's known interests and activities. Some pointed out that Maxwell Hill had a deep understanding of legal issues, media coverage, and global politics, topics that aligned closely with Maxwell's own background. The account was also one of the earliest moderators of major subreddits, including World News, which holds significant influence over global discussions on the platform. This level of involvement suggests that the user behind the account was not just an ordinary Redditor, but someone with connections and influence. Another detail that strengthened suspicions was the absence of posts on Maxwell Hill during Maxwell's known birthdays and significant events. Some researchers pointed out that the posting frequency would often slow down or pause entirely on dates that aligned with Maxwell's travel and social calendar, further fueling speculation that she was indeed the person behind the account. The timing of these pauses, combined with the complete cessation of activity after her arrest, convinced many that the connection was too strong to ignore. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the theory that Maxwell was behind the account is the noticeable absence of any posts or discussions related to Epstein. Given that Maxwell Hill was one of the most prolific news aggregators on Reddit, covering global politics, high-profile scandals, and legal cases, it seems almost inconceivable that the account would have completely ignored one of the biggest scandals of the century: Epstein's crimes, arrest, and subsequent suspicious death. For years, the accounts consistently posted about breaking news, controversial topics, and global affairs, yet there is no record of the account engaging with any Epstein-related content. This silence becomes even more suspicious when considering that Epstein's legal troubles began making headlines years before his 2019 arrest. If Maxwell Hill was a genuine news-focused user, they would have almost certainly engaged with the bombshell revelations that began surfacing about Epstein's connections to powerful figures, his illicit activities, and his multiple arrests. The complete avoidance of these stories suggests that the user behind Maxwell Hill had a personal reason to steer clear of the subject, adding another layer of credibility to the theory that Maxwell was controlling the account. Further fueling speculation is the fact that Maxwell Hill became inactive in 2013, around the time of Maxwell's mother's death. Researchers and Reddit users noticed that posting patterns on the account suddenly changed during this period, with a significant drop in activity that coincided with Elizabeth Maxwell's passing. Given that Ghislaine Maxwell was known to be close to her mother, this could suggest that she took time away from her online activities to attend to personal matters. If the account was simply a dedicated Reddit user with no connection to Maxwell, there would be no logical reason for the account to suddenly slow down during that time. The correlation between Maxwell's life events and the activity of the account strengthens the argument that the two are one and the same. Another strange coincidence that has been pointed out is that Maxwell Hill's claimed birth month is December, which happens to be the same birth month as Ghislaine Maxwell. While this alone is not definitive proof, it is yet another curious detail that fits within the larger pattern. Additionally, the account exhibits a mix of British and American spelling, as well as French slang, which closely aligns with Maxwell's unique background. She was born in France, raised in the UK, and later acquired American citizenship, making it entirely plausible that she would have a blended writing style incorporating elements from all three cultures. Even more intriguing is the possibility that the username itself, Maxwell Hill, is a direct reference to her family home, Headington Hill Hall. The prestigious estate in Oxford was once the home of Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, and played a significant role in her upbringing. Some believe that if Ghislaine Maxwell was operating the account, she may have deliberately chosen a name that was both personal and subtle, allowing her to maintain anonymity while still leaving behind a hidden signature. The combination of her surname and the historic family home creates a plausible link that cannot be easily dismissed. Another noteworthy observation is Maxwell Hill's moderation activity on Reddit. The account was responsible for curating and controlling the content on World News, one of the largest news-related subreddits. This meant that the user had immense power over what stories gained visibility, what narratives were promoted, and which discussions were suppressed. If Maxwell was truly behind the account, it raises serious concerns about how much influence she may have had over online discourse. Some have speculated that her involvement in Reddit moderation allowed her to shape public perception on key issues, potentially burying certain stories while amplifying others. Beyond simply posting news stories, the account was known for engaging in discussions and debating users. Several Redditors have gone through years of archived comments and found that the account often displayed a deep knowledge of legal systems, media control, and international affairs, subjects that align closely with Maxwell's own expertise. Given her connections to powerful individuals and intelligence networks, it would make sense that she had a strong interest in global politics and media narratives. The absence of any official response from Reddit itself has only intensified suspicions. Despite the massive public interest in the Maxwell Hill controversy, Reddit has never issued a statement denying or confirming whether they have investigated the true identity of the account's owner. This lack of transparency has led many to believe that there is something Reddit does not want the public to know. If Maxwell was indeed behind one of the platform's most influential accounts, it could raise serious ethical questions about how easily online platforms can be manipulated by powerful figures. Some have attempted to dismiss the theory, arguing that the account's disappearance after Maxwell's arrest is simply a coincidence. However, this explanation fails to address the overwhelming number of connections between Maxwell and Maxwell Hill. The posting patterns, the avoidance of Epstein-related topics, the breaks in activity aligning with Maxwell's life events, the linguistic clues, and the username itself all contribute to a strong case that the account was far more than just a regular Reddit user. If Maxwell was indeed operating one of Reddit's most influential accounts, the implications are profound. It would mean that for over a decade, a woman deeply embedded in elite circles and criminal networks was helping shape discussions on one of the world's largest social media platforms. It would also mean that millions of Reddit users had unknowingly engaged with an individual who had access to some of the world's most powerful figures. The idea that a convicted trafficker and close associate of Epstein may have been steering online discussions for years is a deeply disturbing thought. Ultimately, the mystery of Maxwell Hill remains unresolved, but the evidence continues to point toward a connection to Ghislaine Maxwell. The sudden halt in activity, the linguistic patterns, the personal correlations, and the apparent attempt to avoid discussing Epstein all suggest that this was no ordinary account. Whether the truth will ever be officially acknowledged remains uncertain, but for many, the case of Maxwell Hill serves as a chilling reminder of how much influence powerful individuals can exert online while remaining completely hidden from public scrutiny. Despite the overwhelming interest in the Maxwell Hill mystery, Reddit has remained completely silent on the matter. Despite being one of the largest social media platforms, with millions of users and an active moderation team, the company has never publicly addressed the claims that Ghislaine Maxwell may have been secretly operating one of its most powerful and influential accounts. This lack of transparency has only fueled speculation that there may be something more to the story than what is being publicly acknowledged. Many users have demanded an official statement from Reddit, questioning why an account that was so active for over a decade would suddenly stop posting the moment Maxwell was arrested. If the company had investigated and found no connection, one would expect them to issue a statement denying the claims. However, the absence of any response has led many to suspect a cover-up, or at the very least, an effort to distance themselves from the controversy. Reddit's refusal to engage with the issue raises serious concerns about who truly controls information on online platforms. If powerful individuals can manipulate online discourse without consequence, it calls into question the integrity of major digital spaces and their ability to protect users from hidden influence. Regarding Jeffrey's client list, he allegedly maintained a network of high-profile friends, business associates, and clients, many of whom visited his private island and attended events or gatherings hosted by him. His mysterious passing in his jail cell left many questions unanswered, and every other week his name trends on social media with people wanting answers for what happened. The existence of a client list has been the subject of speculation since his arrest, with many believing it could expose well-known figures who may have been involved in or aware of his illegal activities. Social media users have not been shy in expressing their belief that if such a list exists, it should be made public and that anyone involved should be brought to justice. One of the main reasons for the outrage is the perceived disparity in the legal system. Social media users argue that if the individuals on this list were ordinary citizens, they would likely have already faced consequences. However, the alleged clients are thought to be extremely wealthy and powerful individuals, leading people to question if their status is shielding them from accountability. The sentiment of justice for all resonates strongly on platforms like Twitter, where users frequently post that the rich and powerful should be held to the same standards as everyone else. Many feel that the absence of any arrests among his associates implies a double standard, where elite figures are seemingly immune from prosecution due to their influence, wealth, or connections. The frustration on social media is also fueled by a lack of transparency from law enforcement agencies. Since his passing, there has been very little information released about any ongoing investigations into his associates. This silence has left people feeling in the dark, intensifying suspicions of a cover-up or intentional inaction. Many users call for transparency, arguing that the public deserves to know the full extent of his network and the individuals involved. As public frustration grows over the lack of accountability regarding the client list, social media users are increasingly pointing out the connections that he maintained with a wide network of powerful and high-profile individuals, including celebrities, politicians, business magnates, and even royalty. These ties, documented through photos, social events, and flight logs, suggest that he had extensive access to influential people in various spheres. Many users on platforms like Twitter and Instagram are now scrutinizing these connections, sharing images and articles that illustrate how closely certain individuals were associated with him. This scrutiny has led to widespread speculation that some of these individuals may be intentionally avoiding investigation or arrest, potentially due to blackmail or other forms of coercion. One of the more widely circulated theories is that he may have been involved in a blackmail scheme, using his connections and network to gather compromising information on influential figures. His properties, including his infamous private island, New York townhouse, and ranch in New Mexico, were reportedly equipped with surveillance cameras, leading some to believe he might have used this footage to obtain leverage over his guests. Social media users suggest that he could have compiled compromising material on various associates, leaving them vulnerable to blackmail. If true, this would not only explain the reluctance of certain individuals to distance themselves from him, but also raise questions about whether some of his high-profile friends could still be under the shadow of this blackmail, even after his passing. This theory resonates deeply on social media, where users are quick to connect the dots between his close connections and the notable silence or inaction regarding his client list. Prominent figures who were frequently seen with him or flew on his private jet are frequently named in these discussions, with users questioning why such individuals have not faced investigation or public questioning. The lack of legal action against them fuels the belief that they might be using their wealth and influence to keep incriminating information under wraps. The pervasive theory of blackmail has fostered a climate of distrust toward these celebrities and powerful individuals, as the public wonders if their silence indicates complicity or fear of exposure. Public figures who have been associated with him, such as former presidents, members of the British royal family, and well-known actors and business leaders, face intense scrutiny on social media. Users often cite the lack of accountability as evidence of hidden corruption and cover-ups, suggesting that his connections offered him protection even as his crimes became public knowledge. This notion has led to increased calls for a deeper, independent investigation into his network, with many arguing that only a fully transparent inquiry can restore trust in the justice system and reveal the full extent of his alleged blackmail operation. Adding to the suspicion, some public figures who were once close to him have chosen to distance themselves or downplay their connections, leading to accusations of hypocrisy and deception. In high-profile cases, certain individuals have claimed to have had no knowledge of his criminal activities or denied any wrongdoing. However, social media users often counter these statements by sharing photos, video footage, and documented instances where these individuals were seen in his company, suggesting a level of familiarity that contradicts their statements. For the public, these inconsistencies are troubling, leading many to believe that these figures may have something to hide. The blackmail theory also raises broader questions about how influence can be wielded behind the scenes. Social media users argue that the very existence of such a network, one where individuals could potentially be coerced into silence, reflects a deep-rooted problem with power structures in society. The idea that wealthy and influential individuals could protect each other, or be protected from accountability, undermines public confidence in institutions meant to deliver justice. Many people fear that, if the blackmail theory is true, it could mean that policy decisions, public narratives, and even media coverage may be influenced by a select group of people working to preserve their own reputations and avoid scandal.